What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Boba Story. My name is Sunny, and I am the host of this talk show where we create a space for students and working professionals to talk about their life experiences and how that impacts and shapes our ideas about work and career building. All right, and we're back with another episode of Boba Story. Here with me today, we have Michelle Lee. She has been a Boba mentor with us for about 6 months. And so we really wanted to bring her on board to talk about what it's like being a mentor here at BobaTalks. Hey, Michelle.
Hi, Sunny. Thanks for having me.
Of course. I just want our viewers to kind of get to know you and your background. So if you can maybe provide a quick intro about yourself and kind of what you do, that'd be great.
Sure. So hi, everybody. I'm Michelle. I'm currently a brand specialist at Amazon, and that's in the vendor management function. I've been here for about 4 months now. I'm a recent 2022 grad. I majored in biology, but I'm super excited to be here, excited to talk about the mentoring experience that I've had.
That's amazing. Okay, so you brought up a really interesting fact of like you being a biology major and now you're kind of working in tech. I would love to hear kind of how that story and how you kind of found that career path, because I think there are so many students who are maybe in a major, but then they're thinking about doing something else. I personally have that story as well. I kind of have an unconventional career route as well. Like I studied psychology and sort of relates to kind of what I do today. But I think there's just so many students that can relate to where you are at now. So kind of curious as to how you found yourself, you know, picking the major that you did and then kind of being where you are at now.
Yeah. Well, I totally agree. I didn't know that you also came from a non-traditional background. I love that. I came into college not really sure what I wanted to do. I liked science and I liked helping people, and so I picked pre-med. And I was a pre-medical student for 4 years, my entire collegiate experience. And throughout, I always had a sort of doubt with pre-medicine, but I thought it was just because it was really hard, and it wasn't until I started getting healthcare experience that I realized it was just not for me. And throughout that time, I pursued other activities that related to that had business aspects and kind of those more intuitive business-related functions that I really enjoyed. And so my senior year, this past March, I made the decision to switch and pursue marketing and tech at the time. I job hunted, worked very hard, and coffee chatted a gazillion people, which is why I'm partially now a mentor in that from my transition, I know how difficult it can be, and I know how much of a learning curve there is. And so I hope to be able to share some of my experiences and potentially help out mentees who started out in similar positions like myself.
That's amazing. I feel like there's just like so much that you said that I want to unpack there. Like you talked about how you set out to be pre-med and then you're like, okay, like I want to know if this is the right path for me. So then you go out and actually seek out real experiences. And that's not also like easy, right? It takes a level of courage and boldness to go out there and get that tangible experience. And for you, you landed these experiences and you're like, oh, this isn't quite for me. And then you had to ask yourself, like, what's next? And you said that like you've like went on all these different coffee chats to figure out like, okay, what is my other alternative or other path going to be? And that's kind of exactly why, you know, like we have this organization for BobaTalks is for students like you to find and talk to these different professionals in different disciplines and industries to figure out like what is it that they want to do. So I want to ask you, I'm sure you've, you know, like you said, you've had these coffee chats and you've probably met like incredible like people along the way and mentors. So I want to ask like, what is your view of mentorship and how has that impacted kind of your life?
Definitely. I I heavily value mentorship. Obviously, being a mentor with BobaTalks, it's a passion that I pursue in my free time, but that's because I really believe in it. For me, when I first started my career transition, I really didn't know where to start. And I knew that I had to learn as much as possible. And I was fortunate in that the best resource I had to utilize were people. Anybody that I knew in my university, anybody that I could reach out to on LinkedIn, regardless of what function, I was able to learn so much from them and be able to apply that to my career goals, but also my daily role and function. And so I see mentorship as opportunity for learning, an opportunity to apply that learning to personal growth based on the experiences that others are able to share.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm honestly like so humbled that you are a recent grad. You mentioned you graduated in 2022, but just based on what you just said of like, I really value mentorship to the point where you decided you wanted to be a mentor just 6 months out, right, of college, right? Like right away, you're like, I want to help students who are just like me. I think that is so admirable. And I kind of want to ask you, like, for those potential mentors out there, what kind of advice would you give them? Because, you know, you're just so fresh into kind of the work, right? Like working, you know, workforce and industry, yet you still try to find the time to give back. And I just want to give you the opportunity to maybe use this like platform as a way to encourage some, you know, older folks out there who, you know, should, you know, be a part of this, like giving back to the next generation through mentorship. So wanted to see if you had any word of advice or encouragement for kind of, you know, the working professionals out there.
Definitely. Well, I think for myself, you know, because I transitioned from an unconventional background, I have roots and I'm invested in helping other undergrads, other recent grads who are transitioning to kind of be able to make those steps. I can't speak for others who have more experience or other potential mentors, but from my experience, I found it very rewarding. I love learning, and I think learning from everybody of all kinds of experiences, whether that be entry level, pre, being a student in college. I think everybody has unique experiences and something that I can learn from. And so that's what I found most rewarding as a mentor, and that although I'm hopefully able to help by sharing my experiences and sharing what steps I took, I also learn a lot from every single chat that I have based on every individual's personal experiences there.
Yeah, that's awesome. I feel like, you know, like when you like get, you know, you're in the working, you know, industry for a while and you're working professional, like sometimes like time can just go by and years go by. Certainly that's true for me. And there's like a part where like this is what like gives like fulfillment for me, right? Is like giving back and this mentorship kind of like, you know, thing. And so I like for me, I just also am like, I kind of can echo the same sentiment there that it's never too late to kind of join, right? It's always like, it's profound because we've received so much feedback where like students will just book one Boba Talks and be like, wow, that was life changing. I like talked to somebody and now I want to be like a product manager. I had no idea like there was this kind of job in tech, right? And it really just took one Boba Talk for that student to be inspired. And it really like, I just, you know, always want to like encourage those out there to kind of invest in the next generation because of that, because you might not think you have the time, or you might not think like you're in a place where you can provide like mentorship or advice, but you really truly can. And even for you, right, 6 months out, you're already like, you said like you've scheduled like maybe 50 Boba Talks already. So like think about the impact that you've made on these students already. And I think just taking a moment to just kind of think about that and letting that kind of resonate is very special. And so I wanted to ask you, being kind of this veteran boba mentor, and you've already scheduled so many talks with students, is there like a fun story or a unique story that comes to mind of like a boba talk that you've had with a student? Like, I don't know if you are continuing a conversation with a student that has booked a boba talk with you previously, but want to kind of see like what are some of the common student kind of like, like worries or, things that they're dealing with right now.
Definitely. I commonly talk to undergrads who potentially came from untraditional backgrounds, maybe majored in something STEM related, or has experiences that might not seem directly relevant to the function that they're looking to go into soon. Although experience-wise, they're all across the board. There's also those who have been in business for a while or are looking to pivot. Or sometimes I talk to engineers and they want to go into a more soft skill based function. I think that's the coolest part about being a mentor is that, again, being able to learn from everyone's different unique experiences, regardless of background or what they're doing now or age or anything like that. I think I find that very rewarding. One chat that comes to mind I had a couple weeks ago. It was with an undergrad and we were able to have a really good conversation. I think we talked for like an hour and a half. But I personally found it really rewarding because I was able to share my experiences and it seemed like she learned a lot from that and wanted to apply that to her own. And that's all that I can do as a mentor is be able to share the steps that I took and what might have worked for me and hope that something in there, some piece of advice, some action that I took is applicable to them to help them grow in their careers.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I love that you mentioned this like bi-directional relationship or kind of, I guess like concept for mentorship, because that's exactly what we want to promote. And this is something that we embrace here at BobaTalks is that we don't just see ourselves as a mentor to give, but we also receive in that we learn from each other. I think there's, something to be said about, the older generation, and we're like supposed to be this like wise group and we have it together and we're supposed to just like give you and like, share the knowledge with like the next generation and students. But I've found that I've learned so much in just even the boba talks that I've had with students. And it's just so amazing that like we can have these conversations with them. And there's like an opportunity to do that. And I just love that you shared that because that's exactly what kind of we believe here at Boba Talks as well. And I did want to ask you, if you can maybe encourage a student out there who has not yet booked a boba talk for whatever reason it may be, if you can maybe leave like one advice to a student to encourage them to seek out mentorship if they don't even know where to start with mentorship overall.
Yeah. I'm going to sound so repetitive throughout this call, but I think the goal that I think everyone should be having is just to learn as much as you can. I think mentorship is a great way to do that in that it's low stakes, not a lot of pressure. You can come in with very open-ended questions and just learn from other people's experiences. And like you said, Sunny, I think that's such a privilege to be able to have that opportunity, to be able to reach out to someone who has lots of experience or works in a function that you're interested in and say, hey, like, can I ask you a couple of questions? I think it's a fantastic opportunity. And so for students potentially thinking about mentorship, I would encourage them in that, again, it's a great opportunity to be able to gain some insight and learn about a future career path that you might be interested in. Or even beyond that, for example, I when I first started my transition, I coffee chatted so many software engineers. I knew I didn't want to be one, but I knew that from learning from them about their jobs, their careers, I might in the future be able to apply that once I had a working relationship with a software engineer. So I think just examples like that, you know, you might not think that the learning opportunity there is super present or super obvious, but I think it's awesome, and I think everyone has the opportunity to learn something new from everybody. So I would encourage mentees to reach out.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point there of this like growth mentality, this like desire to learn, because, you know, that's kind of what that's important, right? Like that we learn from each other. And this is the thing that's not in the textbooks. Like you go to college and you're like, I want to be like pre-med, I want to be pre-law, I want to be whatever. And then you're just in class learning, but then it's a whole nother reality and a whole nother experience to go and talk to somebody who's actually doing the thing that you think or you're learning about in the textbooks, right? You're like, oh, this person is like, I want to be a software engineer, and like you're learning to code and all of that stuff, and you're learning the technical hard skills, which is equally important. But then when you go out there and you talk to software engineers, like they might do something completely different than what you've learned in class, or they, you know, one software engineer at one company might do something completely different at another company. So it's really valuable in having these like boba talks, in that like you are learning something invaluable that's not necessarily like just given to you, right? Like in your studies on campus. So I love that you said that, like that learning is key. And I think that's really important. And thank you so much for sharing that advice. I did want to ask you, this is like the fun question, and we've been asking all of our guests this question. And of course, we need to bring it back to boba. But what is your favorite flavor? If it does not exist in the world, you can create your own and get creative. But we always ask, like, what is your favorite boba?
I think this is the hardest question. I love boba. I love all flavors, but I am going to have to go with jasmine milk tea with boba, 25% sweetness, light ice. That hits the spot.
Oh my gosh. I think that is so many of our staff at BobaTalks loves that. Theirs is 50% sweet. So you're the first 25%. But everyone, like that jasmine milk tea craze is like a real thing. And we have a staff at UW, your alma mater, but he said something like there's like 15 boba shops or something like all around campus. Like he's counted one day, and there was just like so many.
There's so many there. They've opened like a gazillion in recent years, but that's because the craze is real.
I know, exactly. I know students love boba, and we love it here too. So anyways, I just wanted to say thank you so much for being with us today and shedding so much light and being so sharing just your insight in just your experience as a boba mentor. I really hope that through this episode, there's a lot of potential mentors out there that are inspired by your story. It really just is about sharing experiences, and we just want to build a community for mentors and for students here at BobaTalks. So thank you so much for joining us, Michelle.
Definitely. I appreciate it, Sunny, and thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks, guys. Bye. And that concludes this episode. We hope that you enjoyed our talk today, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and stay tuned for our next episode. If you are a college student and you're interested in finding a mentor, or you're an industry professional and want to be a mentor, you can stay connected with us and learn more by following our LinkedIn page and joining our Discord.